You happy? Let's see. You're happy.
Welcome to another episode of Call to Marriage. I'm Marcia.
And I'm Thomas.
And today we are going to talk about the joys of having siblings.
Yay.
We both have siblings, or you have okay.
Yeah.
And and our kids are siblings with each other. And I just thought it would be nice to talk about, especially in a day and age where people are afraid of having more and more children.
Yep.
And maybe episode to come on this whole, having children thing and how many children to have and so forth. But to give you sort of like the conclusion before we go into the details, I do want to say that, or a disclaimer, whatever the right word is, I do want to say that I don't think you should force anything. I think we also in today's day and age do a bad job of just submitting to the Lord. If the Lord has only given you one, so be it. That's whatever the Lord's will is much higher and better for you than, whatever you can imagine yourself or whatever research says or whatever, So if he wills for you to have one, then one it is, But yeah, if you have, and let's just talk biological siblings for now because adoption is like a whole nother topic. Yeah. If you do have biological siblings or if you're blessed to have multiple children, I think it does come with advantages that we want to talk about. Yeah.
It's getting harder and harder these days though, right? I mean, there are families who are still having a lot of kids, but these days we like to be in control. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
We do. We want to control everything. We want our kids to have a sibling, but exactly one sibling, or an opposite sex sibling, or whatever, And it's like, I think it would be so good for us to just learn to trust God more with that part of our lives. But in any case, I am one of six siblings. So I have 5 brothers and sisters. Yeah. And I grew up in a large-ish family. It was large for where I came from, let's say. What about you?
Well, I have one sibling between both of my parents. And we didn't really grow up together until I think my sister was in high school when she moved to live with my mom and I. And she was even in a boarding school, so she was only home during the vacations. That's when we started, working on our relationship. And through college, we became very close. So for the most part, I lived like a single child, like an only child. So I lived with my mom, and it was just the two of us. At some point, maybe 1 or 2 cousins. But yeah, I lived pretty much like an only child. Yeah.
But now you guys, you could go back and talk about if you want, like how you guys built your relationship. But since I've known you, you've spoken very well of your sister. You guys have a very close bond. And I see that you guys have a great relationship in spite of not having grown up together.
Oh, we sure do. We had a lot of catching up to do, which we did. But once we got to know each other, family's family. Once you create the right environment, it just happens, right? She's my sister. I always knew I had a sister. It wasn't like she wasn't a part of my life. There were moments during school breaks that I would travel to where she lived, and then we would meet. But we just didn't have a strong relationship until we started working on our relationship. And once we did that, and it helped that we were both adults. So there wasn't a lot of, it was just it was easy, I would say. We bonded. We are siblings. And I think there was always a longing on my part. And I came to learn that she also had exactly the same thing. She always longed to be with me. And just, grow up with me. She didn't have that. I didn't have that. So we shared that, and I guess the pain of it all helped. There was some sort of eagerness and a genuine desire to take a deep breath and say, oh, finally, we're together. And then we started working on our relationship. My sister is great. A lot of first things I learned as a man. She bought me a lot of things. She really knew how to take care of me. She really took care of me. And I have fond memories of us just being siblings, just going out, getting food, eating together. I can go into those stories, but generally speaking, we have a very good relationship now, and I love her. She knows that, and I know she loves me. Yeah.
And going, I don't know if this is backward a little bit, but just to say the inspiration, I think it's helpful to hear about our own sibling journeys.
Yeah.
And it helps us put into perspective for our own kids. But I feel like the inspiration is seeing our, Charlie and N.T.
bond.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's so beautiful.
It really is.
Even with all the bickering, because of course they fight too and all that stuff.
Oh, yeah.
But it's even funny. But it's so interesting to just watch their relationship bloom.
Yeah.
One day we were talking about how in N.T.'s case, especially as the younger sibling, all he's ever known is having a sibling.
Yeah.
And he's always looked up to Charlie since he was what I thought was too young to even look up to anybody. I'm like, how is he already looking up to him at this young an age? But I could see his eyes
lighting up.
Yeah, he's studying his brother. He's just admiring his brother from months old, And it is, and it's so sweet to watch, and it brings back fond memories of my own upbringing with my siblings, which of course there was also turmoil, especially in the adolescent years.
There
and stuff
always
like
is.
that.
I mean, yeah.
Yeah, but it's such a joy to have siblings now.
It is.
It's such a strong part of my support system, and our support system. Having siblings, by the grace of God, both my parents are still living and one of my grandparents, but, they're meant to go before us. They're older, significantly older than us, obviously, they're our parents. And then what are you left with? If you have siblings, you're left with your siblings, which is beautiful and powerful.
You're not alone.
You're not alone, Even siblings sometimes, accidents happen and so forth. But for the most part, it is so powerful to have your siblings as your support system. And after all the craziness of growing up with them as teens and whatever, things change when you become adults, and I'm giving you a positive perspective because I know this is not everybody's story, but like you said, if your parents provide certain upbringing, the right environment or whatever, it fosters this kind of relationship. So yes, there are siblings who don't talk to each other or whatever, but in my case, we got through all the fuss of, our younger years, and we've grown to respect each other. We've grown to appreciate each other.
You guys get along really well.
We do. We're not all, the same. It's not because we all just think exactly the same or whatever. Yeah. We're so different. We live in different states even. And yet there's this bond that is more than I can probably explain, but that brings us all together. And in our case, we do weekly Bible study together. I meet with, we meet with my brothers and sisters and their spouses, and we get to talk about the Word of God, and we get to, it's beautiful because we're talking about Philippians 4:8, whatever is true, whatever is godly. Godly is not a word in there, but we can add that. But yeah. And so that's beautiful, but it's also just that weekly connection and that maintaining of relationships and stuff. It's just so helpful. And I feel so undergirded, I guess, by having a sibling support system. And I could go into many ways that we've supported each other, but I probably won't even go that far. I don't want to overcomplicate the topic.
Yeah.
But again, I feel like it's so important to draw these things out because I really do feel like we live in a society where people are afraid to embrace, having lots of siblings. Mm-hmm. And there's been this trend on the internet about older siblings being parentified, and
Yeah.
People are afraid that they don't have enough love to go around to many children and all this. I don't know, like, and it's like siblings take care of each other. Like, my mom didn't teach, I don't know what my mom taught me, honestly. I can hardly remember because I learned so much from my siblings. I'm a middle child. I'm the fourth of 6 of us. So I just know how helpful we've all been to each other. And I don't think it's meant for our parents to have to, or to be able to give us all like this crazy amount of attention by the time we're, you know, as many as we were 6. If you have one and you can do that, that's great. But if you can't give them, you don't have to worry that they're not getting enough attention from you. They will take care of each other. You know,
They will. And I think that's the way it's supposed to be, right? That's how life is supposed to be. You begin from the home with a good support system, right? So you have people ahead of you who have, whether it's education or whatever it is, you go in high school, it's nice to have a sibling who's been through high school. I mean, I use my sister's textbooks. I still have math books that I got from her that I've always kept with me because I wanted to use them to teach our kids. And it's just interesting that it's, you know, full circle. But I look at those books and I'm like, yeah, it was nice. I remember when she passed those books down to me and I was like, yeah, I love it. I've used my sister's computer, her phone. You know, some of my first phones were from her. You know, I didn't have to buy my own phone. So it's nice to have that kind of support system. And I think especially as you grow, because one of the realities of adulting or adulthood is it's hard to make friends. That's just the truth. You go through high school, you go through college, you make a lot of friends, or maybe I should say you meet a lot of people and you think, you know, you all said you have a lot of friends and then they all disperse. People go different places. They have different priorities. They don't have any interest in keeping up with you, like how you all lived in the same dorm or whatever, attended the same classes, played the same sport. Like, it just doesn't work that way again. And then you realize you're left with just only a few friends. That's if you're lucky. Because it's hard as an adult to make friends. It's hard to meet someone new outside somewhere, strike up a conversation with them, and move beyond that, right? Beyond that conversation at a car park, even at church, it's just hard because you're scheduling this, you're trying to meet them, but it's hard. They have this duty and that duty. You're also busy. This day doesn't work. That day doesn't work. And maybe if you're diligent, you meet like once or twice and it's nice, it's fun, and then that's it. And life changes. Maybe you weren't even married when you met them, and then you get married and then you have other responsibilities and you're looking to make friends with other married couples, and then you have kids, and then you're looking for parents to connect with. So you know, naturally you lose people behind as you progress in life. But the constant is your sibling or your siblings. They go through every life with you. If you're unmarried, they're still friends. When you get married, they're the ones there to, you know, cheer you on, support you. When you have kids, guess what? They're the uncles and the aunts. So they're always there with you. And that's the beauty of having siblings. I don't know how we got here in, you know, our modern society where we don't place enough value on those relationships as we ought to. And it's good mentally, psychologically, to have people you can check in with, people who will call you, keep you accountable, ask you questions. They have the right in the room to question you on anything, because they love you. And these days, everyone is sensitive. Even when you make friends, it's hard for your friends to actually step out and, maybe call you out on something or demand some level of accountability from you because they're trying to respect you. They don't want to, step on your toes. Hey, it's your life. You can live it how you want. We can watch the game together. We can talk about sports, but I'm not going to, ask you why you're cheating on your wife. Why are you with this other woman? It's hard to come by that kind of relationship. And I think we have all of that in our siblings.
Yeah, I was thinking siblings are truly a gift.
Yeah.
I've thought about, we've talked, endlessly at random times about different aspects of this, like, even when it comes to like homelessness or certain problems you had faced, is like, if I think about myself, it would be really hard for me to ever be homeless with the amount of support I have from my siblings.
It's going to have to be pride. That would take you out.
Yeah, it would just be pride. It would just be pride, there are few people that you would feel okay with letting them just crash indefinitely, or whatever. Things like that, like just I don't want to say little things because that's a big thing, but you know how everyone's always saying like, oh, you're one bad decision or misfortune away from homelessness or whatever, trying to help us to identify with, with the homeless, which is so true. But also it's like, I feel so, like I said, I guess undergirded by my sibling relationships, and so supported. And it's just been nice, to see us all grow and everything. And then I was peeking at my phone because I was reminding myself of Jesus having siblings. We don't talk about it a lot because, again, not to idolize siblings, the Bible says at some point Jesus said, well, who's my mother, who's my father, who's my sister, who's my brother? Whoever does the will of the Father, if I'm not mistaken, that's what it says, is my sibling. So you can have spiritual brothers and sisters in Christ. We ought to have them. But let's also be, honest, is that what would be so perfect is if your blood brothers and sisters are also your brothers and sisters in Christ. I was just thinking that. That's like optimal, right? Like that's so having all of it is good, but it's like, that's like the best you can have. It's like, it's the best of both worlds, right? So if you can have brothers and sisters who are your biological blood brothers and sisters, and then they also are your brothers and sisters in Christ, that is a huge blessing. But Jesus had blood brothers and sisters, he had, I forget, it was in Mark. I was doing Bible study in the book of Mark, and then they were like, isn't this Jesus? Like, who's, his father was Joseph. Isn't this the guy we know? And aren't his brothers so-and-so and so? Yeah, Joseph and what was it, Judas? I forget all his siblings' names. And aren't these his sisters? Like, so he had multiple siblings, okay? Which is so interesting to think about, and so... we do come from a heritage of children are a blessing. And of course, the word of God says that too. And so I feel like I want to encourage those of you who are watching this, when you think about your own kids, obviously what your life is probably done. I don't know if we have too many young, like 12, 10-year-old followers or whatever, but if you're our age, when I say your life is done, I just mean to say it's very unlikely or not happening that you're going to get any more siblings, but you're looking at your kids now, right? You're looking at whether your kids will have siblings. How many siblings will they have? Can I handle this? So my encouragement for you as a parent or parent-to-be or as an adult who's looking ahead to this kind of thing is embrace sibling relationships for your kids, know? And I would also encourage, of course, don't take for granted that the relationships just form completely naturally with no sort of adjusting from you, like to try to help foster, because again, I have seen, and it is very sad when siblings are no contact or they're just fighting all the time or refuse to help each other, estranged, And it's also not to say like that sibling relationships are perfect, because there's dysfunction in every family, and mine is no exception to the rule. So, our family does have, it's not to say we're perfect, but it's still a comfort regardless. I would say even in our family, like even whoever might feel the most distant or whatever still understands and has the value of sibling. Like if we were to interview my siblings or something like that, like we would see that everybody appreciates, no matter what, like having,
regardless
having
of,
siblings.
how challenged they are.
Yeah, whatever the challenges might be or whatever.
I think the value is there, right?
Yeah.
They'll all see that value of having each other. And I kept thinking of the word security when you were talking, and I think that's really what you're talking about. Having a sibling gives you some sense of security, that you're not alone, right? And it's nice to have that across multiple generations. So you have your parents, and maybe you have your grandparents, and you have siblings who are, closer in age to you, and siblings who are, a little older, and it's priceless. One of the best gifts I think you can give to your child is giving them a brother or sister. It's great. I think the value is priceless. Having more than one. I mean, the statement two are better than one is not only for marriage, right?
That's true.
Two are
friendship.
Yep, indeed, better than
family.
one. If you're alone and you're down, and God forbid your parents are old, and responsibilities come up in life, and it's all on you. But if you have a sibling or siblings, you take on that responsibility together. Or one of you is down, the other ones will come around and see what they can do. No one at any time feels like they're bearing the load alone. And just that kind of emotional security and psychological security, I mean, money cannot buy that. And it's good to have that, to be able to lean on someone, even just in thought, just thinking that, you know what, I'm pretty sure my brother would be thinking about this too. I'm not the only one thinking about this. He will be as worried as I am, or as concerned as I am. Maybe call them, talk about it, reason together, come up with a solution. These things keep us sane in life. They keep us from anxiety, keep us from depression. And I'm sure in life, a lot of people have thrown in the bucket because they felt like they were alone. They didn't have anyone who they could really connect with in that way or in that sense. So I really think having a sibling or having siblings is great. It's a gift that parents can give to their children.
I guess the last thing I'll say, not to force it to be long because I didn't have much to say, but I just felt like it was an important message anyway. So this is off the top of the head, but I feel like we can try to draw out some of the some of the ways that we try to foster, I guess, in intentional ways, the sibling relationship. And I'll give a few examples, and then maybe if anything comes to mind, you can add. For example, the kids sleep next to each other.
Yeah.
That's nice, I remember also sharing a room with my siblings, Nowadays, I feel like sometimes people think it's a poverty thing, oh, they don't, kids need their own room or whatever. No, even if I had an extra room, I'd make it a guest bedroom and put the siblings together.
They would not be sleeping in separate rooms.
Particularly if they're the same gender. There's nuance to this whole conversation, but I'm just saying generally, in the case of Charlie and T, it's great for them to sleep side by side, It's great for them to have each other at night. You wake up, you have a nightmare or whatever the case, your brother is right there. It's so nice. Yeah. And even if one of them sleeps alone, sometimes T might take a nap and Charlie's not there. And he wakes up and he goes looking for him, and it's so sweet. And they look for what to get into together to play and stuff.
They sing together.
They learn from each other. And
they read together. And
that's another thing I feel like we do with them, is just kind of leave them alone sometimes.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's good for their relationship. They get bored together. They become creative together. They figure out what to do, to entertain themselves, and then they build their bond. And so sometimes just leaving them alone a little bit is also, I think, a good thing. And I think another thing is just kind of taking time to observe and understand the differences in siblings according to birth order and stuff like that. I think sometimes people just want everything to be so fair and equitable or something like that. Or equal, I guess. But there are differences. Like a firstborn is a firstborn. Like there are qualities and characteristics of a firstborn.
Sure.
And that's a true thing. It's not just like a stereotype.
Yeah.
And, you know.
And it's funny, it's across culture.
It is.
Or different cultures, you know.
And so taking the time to observe, you know, we've observed Charlie being authoritative, you know.
Yeah.
And we've observed Inti kind of bucking at that and like trying to, you know, being a little bit more aggressive. Charlie's a little bit more responsible or whatever. Like, and, you know, being mindful. I know we talked about parentifying earlier. No, you don't want to, and I'm always clarifying this with Charlie, like, I don't want Charlie to act like a father to Inti. He's not Inti's father.
He's not.
But he does have some authority as an older sibling to, you know, and so forth. So, you know, we're learning this in real time. I can't, you know, give you advice as like a parenting expert, but I just think it's important to like observe those differences, learn about them if you can. Like I can, off the top of my head, I can think of like, was it Focus on the Family? They had like an author.
Yeah, it was
Kevin
Focus
Lehman.
on the Family.
He was talking
wrote
about
a book
birth
about
order
it.
and siblings and stuff. Yeah. So like there are things you can listen to from older, more seasoned parents who can kind of draw out, and also researchers and so forth who can kind of draw out some things to help you navigate. But it's just that being intentional, I think, about, you know, how you can bring the best out of your kids, no matter what order they fall into, you know, into, or what gender they are or whatever, and how to sort of just maintain, you know, healthy relationships between them over time. Yeah. Yeah.
In my case, I have so many fond memories with my sister. Speaking of, you know, firstborn traits and whatnot, she got me a lot of my first things in life, right? It wasn't even my mom who did that. Like, she was the first person to take me out to shop. She took me out to buy me new sets of clothes, new boxer briefs, new everything, right? And she changed my entire wardrobe. Right, she's like, "Yep, you're gonna start dressing well. You're a man." And it's like, all right, you know, I was just, you know, going along with her, and she took me to different stores. I remember this in Kumasi, and she got me new sets of clothes, and I'll never forget that. I was like, "Yeah, this is nice, you know." But that's what a firstborn child would do. It's really special, and those moments always stay with you for the rest of your life, and. We still share that even now that we're not living in the same country. We still call each other. She's still calling me. "I saw this. I think it's going to look really nice on you. I would love to get it for you." And she does, right? Even down to Charlie. She gets stuff for Charlie too. So it's that same love that has stayed between us, you know, has evolved through me and then now to my son. She feels the same way about her nephew, right? So, and I think it's nice. And Charlie shares that too with, like you mentioned, with his nephew, AJ.
His cousin.
I mean, his cousin. Charlie doesn't have a nephew yet. Yeah, his cousins, AJ and Nanajwa. So it's nice, right?
Yeah, I was gonna just, you know, reiterate the like relating to having an oldest sibling who's a girl, because my oldest sibling is also a girl, and benefiting from the maternal love, if you will, for lack of a better way of putting it, because I don't know this whole parentifying thing. Anyway, and
she's got a big heart.
Even though I am a middle child, some people would say that's a disadvantage, but I think it's an advantage, at least in my case. I have an older sister, older sister, older brother.
Older brother.
I have another older sister too, and I have a younger sister, younger brother. So I know the whole experience. So, and it's nice having an older brother who can be protective of me, but it's also nice having a younger brother who is very close to my age. I did want to mention this is like parents who are having kids close together, not to be overly concerned about it. It is obviously really stressful for you while the children children are young, they're so close together. But that also contributes to the bond that they build over time. I feel like I have a special relationship with my brother who's closest to me in age. And likewise, my older brother and sister who are close in age, they have their own like special bond.
Yeah, I also have that, yeah.
Yeah. And we all relate to each other in different ways, based on different things. So it's just, all the relationships are special. You're never going to like get it perfect when it comes to the sibling thing. I can't tell you how many siblings your kids should have, or what kind of siblings, what gender of siblings, whatever, how close they should be, how far they should be. I feel like God is sovereign over all that, and he's going to give what your children need. But yeah, I did want to ask you, going back to like fostering good and healthy relationships with, your siblings, like what encouragement do you have or ideas do you have that you could probably share about like what you can do with your kids, like to help them?
So you mean as a parent?
Yeah, as a parent, and whatever, based on your experience as being a sibling too, like what do you think helps for you to have the outcome? Like we do have a great relationship with your sister, and that helps even the kids as cousins. It's the whole thing is so, it's like a gift that keeps on giving, like family, like, but yeah. Mm-hmm.
What I've seen with Charlie and Inti is that teaching and learning sort of relationship. It's not the word I was looking for, but this is what I mean. Charlie, even at his age, has something to teach Inti, right? And Inti has something to learn from Charlie. Mm-hmm. So there are always common grounds. Right. Charlie loves music. Inti loves music too. Now, it's hard to even tell now whether Inti is also like naturally musical or he just picked it up from his brother. Right. Now it's hard to tell. Yeah. We wouldn't be able to tell that. No, both of them are musically inclined. Well, we know that Charlie started out alone, mm-hmm. and he was very musical. And now Inti is very musical too. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. But it's hard to tell whether, he naturally has that or maybe he learned from his brother, but it doesn't matter. The point is, there's always a common ground where siblings can find to relate with or to each other, right? And that's what I'm seeing with our kids. So I think it's important to create space for them, to be intentional about the environment that you set up for them, and honing on those common grounds. Mm-hmm. Right? Don't try so hard to, separate or distance them. Like,
yeah. He needs to have his own friends because he's older or he's younger.
Right. Yeah. A lot happens between siblings that if you paid attention to, you would be able to harness a lot more, mm-hmm. versus trying to create different worlds for them. Mm-hmm. So I think the environment matters a lot. Pay attention to the environment that they both share. Of course, they're not exactly the same in terms of even personality and temperament. They're different. But those differences don't take away their sort of commonness, right? So pay attention to the environment, work at inducing that environment, or, designing an environment where both of them can come together, mm-hmm. rather than trying so hard to work on their differences, mm-hmm. Especially when they're young. I think paying attention to the things that bring them together, mm-hmm. Is far more important than working on their differences. Well, I think Inti is like this and Charlie's like that, so we have to send Charlie here and send Inti there. No. And this is why, family dysfunctions like, divorce and other things really affect kids. Because then they lose that ground that I'm talking about, right? Especially and that's what happened with me and my sister. My parents weren't divorced, they were separated. And my sister lived with my dad, I lived with my mom. And so we didn't enjoy that sort of common ground. My sister, when we started living together, I realized that she loved to read. And I love reading too. So I was like, oh, is this a thing about us? Like, like, you know, she loves books. She loves to read. She wanted to be a journalist. And I love books too. I love reading. I love learning. I'm a bookworm. And when we started living together and I started paying attention to those things, even though we grew separately, I could acknowledge those things. I was like, we are very similar. Like some of the things we like are very close to each other. And I wish we had been given the opportunity to nurture them together, to grow them together, to feed one another in those areas. So that's one thing I would say.
You know, this is kind of a ramble now, so feel free to cut it out. But I'm reading a book with the homeschool moms about homeschool, and I feel like one of the errors that the mom made was actually trying to give the siblings two different experiences. Like one sibling actually didn't end up getting homeschooled. He stayed in school, and then only the one sibling was homeschooled. It was two brothers. And that, I think, created such a rift in their brother relationship. They're having two totally different experiences and upbringings. That's very drastic. And I think trying to individualize in that way, you feel like you're doing your kids a good. You're trying to go to, you know, according to their temperament or something like that.
Yeah.
But there are ways that you can draw them together. There's nothing you can do to make them the same. They're not the same. Everybody is unique. So, but like there are things you can do to make life easier for yourself and also to help them be able to like have commonalities. Yeah. And Thomas knows like one of my, you know, pleasures is to like listen to Christian mothers of many, you know, godly women who I can admire, who have had multiple children, because I just think anybody who's had a lot of children, they
got something to offer.
They've got something to offer, you know, even if they've made mistakes along the way. Yeah. You know, and so I love to hear from them. And just to give like a simple example, again, going back to the homeschool, because we're also going to be homeschooling our kids. Yeah. You know, people ask themselves like, well, this one's in, you know, this grade or is this age or this level of education and this one's at this level. Like, how do I, you know, give them both attention? And one of the basic things I've learned is even something as simple as like reading to your kids. Like, it's okay to read a book out loud and it's like way ahead of, you know, your 4-year-old. It's more to the age of your 7-year-old. But the 4-year-old is still listening. Learning. Obviously, that means that the book has to be age appropriate, like content wise for a 4-year-old. Yeah. But he's still learning. Yeah. Like everyone's learning together. If you read a book aloud, the whole family is participating. They don't have to be the same grade level to hear the same book, you know? Yeah. They're just hearing a story. You're doing devotions with your family. You don't have to split the devotions by grade level, you know? Like, you know, I feel like we're in such a modern age now. You send your kids to church and there's this kids group and then there's the teens and that kids group.
Constant segregation.
Yeah. It's always segregating everybody by age and whatever, like segregating them with their peers. And it's like, I think in the family environment is exactly the place where you should do the opposite, really. It's like try to do things that bring everybody together, that include everybody and make them feel connected by certain things, you know, and have those common experiences. So yeah, I like that advice.
You get advantage of the multi-generational experience too.
Yes, that's very important because as many people have drawn out, again, not to belabor, because this is now like kind of a tangent to homeschool, but one of the objections of homeschool, like, oh, how are they going to make friends and whatever? It's like literally public school or school is like the only place and the only time of life where you're with like 25 other of your peers in a class. Yeah, like that never happens again. In the workplace, that doesn't happen. In church, that doesn't happen. When you go to the store, that doesn't happen. Whatever you do in life, that's very uncommon to happen.
Yeah, nowhere else.
Yeah, so it's not actually that important for your child to be in a peer environment for long periods of time, you know. But anyway, that's like an aside. Lastly, you know, I just want to shout out our siblings because we love our siblings. I was going
to remind you of that.
Every last one of you guys. In case you guys are watching, we love you guys all so much. Appreciate every single one of you. From Thomas's sister to my 5 siblings.
Yes.
We value you guys.
We do. We really do.
And you guys know that already anyway.
Yeah.
But yeah, we're thankful to have our family. We're thankful to be able to lean on you guys and for and to be able to offer whatever we have to offer, to be a blessing to you guys too. That makes us feel great that we can contribute to your lives. And we're looking forward to growing our own little sibling tribe. Maybe they'll play music together. Maybe they'll play sports together. Who knows what the future holds?
Who knows?
They'll do things together, and by the grace of God, they will maintain those relationships long after we're gone and take care of each other and help each other. In Jesus' name.
Amen. And if you have a sibling, please pay attention to the relationship you have with them, right? Maybe you haven't been invested in that relationship for whatever reason. Maybe you have your reasons, or maybe things didn't quite work out for you guys. Just be more intentional about it and pursue them. Let them know how you care about them, you love them, and build that relationship. There's so much gold in sibling relationships to be mined that you shouldn't let it go to waste. Whatever the reason is, maybe they wronged you for whatever reason, make every effort to repair, right? And take advantage of that relationship in a way that makes sense to you. Even if it's just, once in a while, just get on the phone, talk a little bit. There's a man at our church who, you would know who I'm talking about, has a brother. They don't really get along that well, but they still check in, they still talk. Every now and then, he's a very handy person. His brother might call him and he'll go fix something. They don't really get along, and he's old now, right? He's retired. He has grandkids now, but he still values that. He still loves the fact that he has a brother here because he's lost everyone else. His parents, everyone else gone. He just has his daughter, and his daughter got married and had 2 kids, I believe. And so he always, he's joyful when he hears from his brother, and they can spend the 5 to 10 minutes on the phone. He can go to his brother's house to fix something for him. Even though their relationship is, not like great. They're not like, laughing out loud together, but it's still good. And whenever he talks about his brother, I can see that in his eyes, that he likes that about their relationship. So any little step you can take in repairing your relationship with your sibling, if you guys are estranged or you haven't been checking each other, will go a long way, and it will help you. Sometimes we don't know what we need until we have it. You can take it from us. It's good to have a sibling and to have a working relationship with your siblings. All right. Thank you for tuning in. See you in the next one. Bless you. We love you. Bye.
Bye.